The 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser is a rimless bottlenecked rifle cartridge. The 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser cartridge was adopted by the German Empire in 1905, and was the German service cartridge in both World Wars. In its day, the 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser cartridge was one of the world's most popular military cartridges. In the 21st century it is still a popular sport and hunting cartridge that is factory-produced in Europe and the United States. Development. The parent cartridge on which the 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser is based was adopted by Germany in 1888 as the Patron 88 or M88. The M88 cartridge was loaded with single-base smokeless powder and a relatively heavy 14.6 grams round-nosed ball cartridge with a diameter of 8.08 mm. It was designed by the German Commission. German government-driven efforts to improve the performance of the military M88 ammunition and the service arms in which the M88 was used after several development steps resulted in the design by the Commission and official adaptation on 3 April 1903 of the dimensionally redesigned 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser chambering. Besides the chambering, the bore was also dimensionally redesigned. The 1903 pattern 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser S Patron was loaded with a lighter 9.9 grams, pointed Spitzgeschoss of 8.2 mm diameter and more powerful double-base smokeless powder, with the improved ballistic coefficient of the new Spitze bullet. The 1905 pattern cartridge had an improved maximum effective range and a flatter trajectory, and was therefore less critical of range estimation compared to the M88 cartridge. The rimless cartridge cases have been used as parent case for several other neck-down and neck-up cartridges on a rimmed variant. Military use. Due to the cartridge's high performance and versatility, it was adopted by the armed forces of various governments, including Spain, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Romania, Iran, Israel, Turkey, China, Egypt, Yugoslavia, former German African colonies, and the early Bundeswehr of West Germany. During World War II it was one of the few cartridges used by both the Axis and Allied powers, a distinction it shared with the 9 x 19 mm parabellum pistol round. Apart from being the standard rifle cartridge of the German and Polish armed forces, it was also used by the armed forces of Great Britain in the Bess machine gun, which was mounted in some of the tanks and other armored vehicles, as well as being extensively used by the Chinese, especially early in the war. Later, when Egypt decided to manufacture the Hakim rifle, a licensed copy of the Swedish AG M42, they redesigned the breech to accept the 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser cartridge rather than use the original 6.5 x 55 mm AG M42 cartridge. Its military use continues today in the former Yugoslavia in the Zastav M76 sniper rifle and the license-built copy of the MG42. The M53 Saris machine gun rifles formerly manufactured for the Wehrmacht and captured by the Allies were acquired by Israel and played a critical role in the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Israel, at the time, did not have a domestic arms industry and could not manufacture its own battle rifles, but it could produce replacement parts and refurbish existing weapons. Israel only used its Mauser rifles in their original configuration for a short period. However, when NATO countries adopted a standard rifle cartridge, the 7.62 x 51 mm NATO, Israel replaced all of the 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser barrels on its Mauser rifles with barrels chambered for the then new 7.62 x 51 mm NATO cartridge. Civil use. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles imposed comprehensive and complex restrictions upon the post-war German armed forces. According to the treaty, the Reichswehr could on a limited scale continue using the 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser as the service cartridge. The Treaty of Versailles, however, effectively nixed the civilian use of 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser chambered rifles by German hunters and sport shooters. During the mid-1930s, Germany stopped obeying the restrictions imposed by the Treaty of Versailles, and gradually the civilian use of 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser chambered rifles by German hunters and sport shooters was resumed. The 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser is a common chambering offering in rifles marketed for European and North American sportsmen, alongside broadly similar cartridges such as the 5.6 x 57 mm, 6.5 x 55 mm, 6.5 x 57 mm, and the 6.5 x 68 mm and 8 x 68 mm S Magnum hunting cartridges. Major European manufacturers like Zastava Arms, Blazer, Seska Zbrojovka Firearms, Heim, Mauser Jagdwaffen GmbH and Stier Mannlicher produce factory-new 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser hunting rifles, and European ammunition manufacturers like Blazer, RU Asia Hamatech, RWS PRVI Partisan, Sarco and Celia and AMP Bellet produce factory-new ammunition. In 2004, Remington Arms offered a limited edition Model 700 Classic bolt-action hunting rifle chambered for the 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser. The 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser cartridge's performance makes it suitable for the hunting all medium-sized game such as the deer family, chamois, mouflon, bighorn sheep, wild boar and bear. The 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser can offer very good penetrating ability due to a fast twist rate that enables it to fire long, heavy bullets with a high sectional density. The 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser cannot be used in countries which ban civil use of former or current military rifle cartridges, like France. The rimmed variant of the 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser, the 8 x 57 mm IRS, was developed later for break barrel rifles and combination guns. The 8 x 57 mm IRS is commercially offered as a chambering option in European break-action rifles. Cartridge naming. The naming of this cartridge is cultural and epoch-dependent and hence not uniform around the world. The 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser cartridge is also known by the following designations: 7.9, 7.9 mm. 7.9 Mauser, 7.9 mm Mauser, 7.92, 7.92 mm, 7.92 Mauser, 7.92 mm Mauser. Cartridge style: 7.92, 7.92 x 57, 7.92 x 57 mm. 7.92 x 57 Mauser, 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser. 8mm Mauser, 8x57, 8x57mm, 8x57 Mauser, 8x57mm Mauser, 8x57 is 8x57 JS. This list is not conclusive and other nomenclature or designation variations might be encountered. The 7.92 naming convention is often used by English-speaking sources for the military-issued 7.92 times 57mm Mauser and 7.92 times 33mm Kurz cartridges. Remarkably, both the 7.92 and 7.9 used in these and alike designations do not exactly comply to the actual C, IP or SAAMI cartridge, chamber and bore dimensions. All other non-military issued rimless and rimmed rifle cartridges originating from Germany having approximately 8mm bullet diameter are connected to 8mm namings. The widespread use in German military Gewehr 98 and Karabiner 98K service rifles designed and manufactured by Mauser caused the Mauser tag, though the Mauser company had nothing to do with the development of this cartridge. The letter J, often mentioned by English-speaking sources, is actually an I for infantry. A stamped I at the cartridge bottom in writing styles used in the past in Germany could be easily mistaken for a J. Even in the 21st century, the I is often substituted by J in English-speaking communities, and German ammunition manufacturers often write JS instead of bullshit to avoid confusing customers. The letter S stands for Spitzgeschoss, and the English designation Spitze for that style of bullet is derived from this German term. Current European Civil C. IP designation. The mainly European Arms Standards Body Commission Internationale Permanente pour l'Approuvé des Armes, a few portatives, an organization for standards in ammunition for civilian use, currently designates the 7.92 times 57mm Mauser as the 8 times 57 is. This designation has the power of law for civil use in C. IP member states like the United Kingdom. Warning: the 8 times 57 as an 8 times 57I are not the same cartridge and are not interchangeable. To avoid catastrophic firearm failures that could endanger users or bystanders, it is important to distinguish clearly between these two differing chamberings and bullet diameters, and only fire them in appropriately chambered, barreled rifles. Current U.S. Civil SAAMI designations. The United States Standardizing Body for Sporting Cartridges, Sporting Arms and Ammunition Manufacturers Institute, currently designates the 7.92 times 57mm Mauser cartridge as the 8mm Mauser, also known as 8 times 57mm. Since the SAAMI has no authority to issue nomenclature rulings, the nomenclature used for this cartridge can vary in the United States. Historic military designations. The German military used 7.9mm as designation or omitted any diameter reference and only printed the exact type of loading on ammunition boxes. During World War II, in Sweden the cartridge was designated 8mm Patron M39. The Polish military used 7.9mm or 7.92mm designations. The British military's best machine gun was chambered for the 7.92 times 57mm Mauser, and was used in armored vehicles during World War II. The British referred to this ammunition as cartridge 7.92. United States intelligence documents from World War II refer to the cartridge as 7.92 or 7.92mm or 7.92 mm. Cartridge drawings and dimensions. The 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser cartridge has a cartridge case capacity of 4.09 ml H2O. The exterior shape of the case was designed to promote reliable case feeding and extraction in bolt-action rifles and machine guns alike. Under extreme conditions, 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser maximum CIP cartridge dimensions, all sizes in millimeters. Americans would define the shoulder angle at alpha to approximately equals 19.1 degrees. The common rifling twist rate for this cartridge is 240 mm. 4 grooves O of the lands equals 7.89 mm. O grooves equals 8.20 mm. Land width equals 4.40 mm and the primer type is large rifle. According to the official CIP rulings, the 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser can handle up to 390.00 megapascals P max piezo pressure. In CIP-regulated countries, every rifle cartridge combo has to be proofed at 125% of this maximum CIP pressure to certify for sale to consumers. This means that 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser chambered arms in CIP-regulated countries are currently proof-tested at 487.50 megapascals P piezo pressure. The SAAMI maximum average pressure for this cartridge is 35,000 psi piezo pressure or. This is considerably lower than the CIP pressure limit and is done for liability reasons. In case a 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser cartridge is fired in an I-bore rifle that has a narrower throat and barrel diameter, most European ammunition manufacturers generally only load to a lower pressure limit for I-bore cartridges, and the US-based manufacturer Hornady followed the lead in the Eurospec brand 8x57JS load. German military ammunition. There were many German military versions of the cartridge, and Germany never stopped its development of different variations until the end of World War II. The bullet lengths varied a great deal through the different types, but all were loaded to an overall length of 80.5 mm. The Germans had started using steel cases in World War I, and by the end of 1943, most German ammunition had that type of case. The weights and case capacities of the World War II military cartridge cases varied somewhat. The German military ammunition manufacturer Colt produced brass cartridge cases weighing 10.32 grams with 4.03 milliliters H2O case capacity and steel cartridge cases weighing 10.90 grams with 3.95 milliliters H2O case capacity. The steel cartridge cases were produced in copper-plated and lacquered executions. German military standard ball-service rifle cartridge evolution. German cartridge variants during World War II. The German standard S. Schwerspitzgeschoss ball bullet cartridge was originally designed for a long-range machine gun use and was 35.3 mm long, bow tail, and very well made. It was lead-filled, had a gilding metal-plated jacket, and weighed 12.8 grams. The S. Patron had a muzzle velocity of 760 meters per second and an operating pressure of 320 megapascals. From its 1914 introduction, the S. Patron was mainly issued for aerial combat and is of 1918 in the later stages of World War I to infantry machine gunners. The desire for adapting new shorter-barreled rifles and introduction of the Carabiner 98K were reasons for changing the standard German service ball rifle cartridge. The 1903 pattern 7.9 .92 x 57 mm Mauser S Patron produced excessive muzzle flash when fired from arms that did not have a long barrel like the .The 98. It was found that the S Patron, originally designed for long-range machine gun use, produced less muzzle flash out of rifles that had a less long barrel and also provided better accuracy. Because of this, the S Patron was phased out in 1933 and the S Patron became the standard German service ball cartridge in the 1930s when the German rearmament program started. The S ball boat tail projectile was designed for a long-range use and offered the best aerodynamic efficiency and external ballistic performance of any standard rifle bullet used during World War II, with a G1 ballistic coefficient between 0.593 and 0.557 or a ballistic coefficient of approximately 0.295. When fired at the typical muzzle velocity of 760 meters per second out of a 600 mm barrel, the S bullet retained supersonic velocity up to and past 1,000 meters under international standard atmosphere conditions at sea level. It had a maximum range of approximately 4,700 meters even by contemporary standards. 1,000 plus m effective supersonic range is quite remarkable for a standard military rifle round. For recognition, the circular groove between cap and brass was green, and it had a yellow-colored bullet. The regular S projectile had the following penetration performance: 85 cm of dry pine wood at 100 meters, 65 cm at 400 meters, 45 cm at 800 meters and 10 cm at 1,800 meters, 10 mm of iron at 300 meters, 7 mm at 550 meters, 5 mm of steel at 100 meters and 3 mm at 600 meters. During World War II, German snipers were issued with purpose-manufactured sniping ammunition known as the effect-firing S round. The effect-firing S round featured an extra carefully measured propellant charge and seated an SS full metal jacketed boat tail projectile of match-grade build quality, lacking usual features such as a cannelure to further improve the already high G1 ballistic coefficient to approximately 0.595 or 0.300. The effect-firing S projectile had a form factor of 0.869, which indicates good aerodynamic efficiency and external ballistic performance for the bullet diameter. Special ammunition included SMK Spitzgeschoss mit Kern, hardened steel cord projectile for use against targets behind thick covers, tanks, or airplanes. Red circular cap groove, yellow bullet, bullet weight 11.85 grams, muzzle velocity 785 meters per second, operating pressure 300 megapascals. This ammunition was also produced in the SMK V high velocity or V ammunition variant that added 100 meters per second muzzle velocity to the normal SMK variant. There was also a version SMKH Spitzgeschoss mit Hartkern which had a tungsten carbide instead of a steel core. Sintered and mild steel cores also came into use in this ammunition. German Spitzgeschoss mit Kern armor-piercing bullets were very good, being very stable and accurate at long ranges. SMK LSPUR Spitzgeschoss mit Kern Leuchtspur, red circular groove, black bullet point. German tracer bullets were the best put out by any country, streamlined and with excellent ballistics. The bullet was basically the same as used in the SMK ammunition but combined with a tracer that burned for 800 to 1000 meters. It had a bullet weight of 10.00 grams and a muzzle velocity of 810 meters per second and an operating pressure of 280 megapascals. This ammunition was also produced in ES, M, KLSPURV high velocity or V ammunition variant that added 115 meters per second muzzle velocity to the normal S, M, KLSPUR variant. These rounds were also available in S, M, KLSPUR 106/100 and S, M, KLSPURV 106/100 variants for aerial use that burned between 100 and 600 meters. SM, Keglerspur, Spitzgeschoss mit Kernglimmspur, red circular groove, black bullet point, German night tracer bullets. The bullet was basically the same as used in the S, M, K ammunition but combined with a dimmed tracer that was visible from 150 meters to 800 to 1000 meters and would not temporarily blind dark adapted eyes in low light conditions. It had a bullet weight of 10.0 grams and a muzzle velocity of 810 meters per second and an operating pressure of 280 megapascals. This ammunition was also produced in ES, M, K, Kalashnikov high velocity or V ammunition variant that added 115 meters per second muzzle velocity to the normal S, M, K, Kalashnikov variant. These rounds were also available in S, M, K, Kalashnikov 106/100 and S, M, K, Kalashnikov V 106/100 variants for aerial use that burned between 100 and 600 meters. PM, K phosphomit Kern machine gun ammunition loaded with the 10.15 grams PM, K bullets that had a muzzle velocity of 830 meters per second and an operating pressure of 280 megapascals. This cartridge can be recognized by the black circular cap groove, yellow bullet. This ammunition was also produced in a PM, K V high velocity or V ammunition variant that added 115 meters per second muzzle velocity to the normal PM, K variant. Beobachtung, the German Luftwaffe 10.85 grams B high explosive incendiary ball bullets contained phosphorus and had a pellet in it which exploded on contact with any target, however frail. The projectile featured an internal floating firing pin mechanism that automatically armed during firing and detonates a small capsule of tetryl, which in turn ignites the white phosphorus in the nose of the projectile during sudden deceleration, producing a clearly observable amount of flash and smoke. It had a muzzle velocity of 800 meters per second and an operating pressure of 300 megapascals. The B bullet was like any other high explosive or incendiary bullet, illegal for anti-personnel use according to the Hague Conventions. The Germans maintained that it was used mainly for observation and range finding, but observers report having seen them in rifle clips and machine gun belts. The regular German infantry units were not allowed to use this round, however German snipers on the Eastern Front were permitted by Adolf Hitler in February 1945 to use these rounds that caused horrendous wounds as the projectiles tended to detonate after 100 to 130 mm penetration in human tissue. Carabiner 98K service rifles handled these cartridges without issues. This cartridge can be recognized by the black circular cap groove, yellow bullet. This ammunition was also produced in ABV high velocity or V ammunition variant that added 110 meters per second muzzle velocity to the normal B variant. All Verbeserter high-velocity ammunition variants were loaded to a 50 megapascals higher operating pressure than the corresponding normal ammunition variants. This increase in operating pressure resulted in a noticeable increase in muzzle velocity and barrel wear. Patron L.S. Leichter's Spitz-Geschoss machine gun anti-aircraft training ammunition loaded with 5.5 grams bullets with aluminium cores that had a muzzle velocity of 925 meters per second. Due to the lightweight bullet, the maximum range was limited to approximately 2,000 meters. This cartridge can be recognized by the green stripe painted over the case head. Patron L.S. LSPUR Leichter's Spitz-Geschoss Luftspur machine gun anti-aircraft training ammunition. The L.S. LSPUR bullet weighed 6 grams and was basically the same as used in the L.S. ammunition, but combined with a trace of that added 0.5 grams extra weight. This cartridge can be recognized by the green stripe over the case head and a black bullet tip. Platzpatronie 33, 2 cannelures in the brass. Redwood a cardboard bullet, cardboard plug between bullet and propellant powder. Safe distance given at 25 meters. Exisier Patronie, 2 variants. Exisier Patronie SK with vertical grooves in the brass for aiming exercises. Werkzeug Patronie S with the same weight as AS. Ball cartridge for examining the functioning of a firearm's action. A horizontal ring of small holes above the extractor grooves differentiated the Werkzeug ground from the ball cartridge. Beschuss Patronie proof test cartridge that produced 450 megapascals proof pressure. This is 7.7% lower than the civilian CIP proof test required for new or old refurbished 7.92 times 57 mm Mauser chambered arms. Anschluss Patronie SS cartridge purpose manufactured with particularly low production tolerances. These were used for zeroing in new arms. Due to the precision, they were also popular with snipers. There were no markings on the cartridge itself present to distinguish it from a normal S cartridge. For recognition, the cartridge boxes had a label with the word Anschluss on the outside. British military ammunition. British cartridges included ball, armor-piercing, tracer and incendiary. Blanks and a drill round were also available for instruction purposes. The drill round was an aluminium bullet fixed in a chromium-plated case which had 3 deep lengthwise recesses painted red to identify it. Ammunition was supplied in belted form with 225 rounds per belt. The ball case was filled with a charge of around 45 grains of nitrocellulose. The British cartridge was used in only one weapon, the Bess machine gun. This was a Czech design adopted shortly before the war as a move towards rimless ammunition across the armed service. However, the move was disrupted by the lead-up to war. The BESA was only fitted to tanks and armored cars of British design, and captured German ammunition was used when available. Polish military ammunition. The cartridges manufactured in Poland during the interwar period were mainly copies and modifications of the corresponding original German cartridge designs. The standard rifle cartridge was the a copy of the 1905 pattern German Patron loaded with the 9.9 grams bullet. For machine guns, a cartridge variant loaded with the heavier 12.8 grams bullet, a copy of the German 1934 pattern cartridge was used. The armor-piercing variant loaded with the P bullet was a copy of the German SMK cartridge. The armor-piercing with tracer PS and incendiary Z cartridges were Polish modifications of the original German counterpart designs. The Polish designed a long-range machine gun cartridge loaded with the D bullet, which offered a maximum plunging fire range of 5,200 meters to 5,500 meters. Yugoslav military ammunition. After World War II, the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia used the 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser as military service round. The Yugoslav National Army designated the 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser ammunition as 7.9 mm. At the end of the 1940s, the Yugoslav National Army adopted a 7.9 mm cartridge ball M49 variant, designated as M49, as infantry ammunition. As extra accurate ammunition for sniper and designated marksmen use, the Yugoslav National Army adopted a 7.9 mm cartridge sniper with universal ball M75, designated as M75. Besides ball ammunition, the Yugoslav National Army also adopted a tracer round 7.9 mm cartridge ball with tracer M70, designated as M70. The M70 tracer round burns out to 900 meters. For training and ceremonial use, a 7.9 mm cartridge blank was adopted. After the breakup of Yugoslavia, this ammunition was extensively used in the 1990s during the Yugoslav wars. The 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser as parent case. This was the parent case for many other later cartridges, such as 5.6 x 57 mm, 6 x 57 mm tribal, 6.5 x 57 mm, 8 x 60 mm S, 9 x 57 mm Mauser, 9.3 x 57 mm.